Good morning, Kat. How are you?
Good morning, Kirsty. I'm okay, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. I have the pleasure of interviewing you today. I'm very excited about it. So, if we fire off straight away, can you tell me a bit about yourself, where you live, what you do, etc.? What you like to do with your hobbies in your spare time?
Yeah. So I'm a qualified and accredited counsellor. So I work in private practice at the moment. I used to work for the NHS for quite a while before deciding to go into private practice. Um, so do that. Um, I also write a lot, so I'm quite into creative writing. I go to a writing group once a month, and I self-published a book back in 2022. So that's one of my main hobbies.
Amazing.
And I also go on, sorry.
So I was said that's amazing. What book is it?
It's called This Stillness in You. So it's a fiction, it's a fictional story, and it does have sort of like themes of kind of loss and mental health running through it. So yeah,
Oh,
it's available on Amazon if you want to check it out.
that's
Um,
amazing.
Thank you. And I also volunteer at an animal sanctuary, so I do that as well.
Which sort of small pets, canines, felines?
Yeah, so they have cats and goats and birds, but I mainly spend time with the cats, so it's like socializing them, keeping them used to human interaction. If they have kittens, we sort of go in and socialize the kittens, so it's really nice.
Oh, amazing. How many failed fosters do you have? Do you
Well, funny story, because I guess that goes into the next question,
It
doesn't
does,
it? Do
yeah,
you
nice
have
to
any
you that
pets?
one.
So um my cat Charlie passed away last year very suddenly. She got really poorly really quickly, and I wasn't prepared at all for that happening. And I really struggled with her loss because she was like my everything. And then, sort of 2 months after she died, I felt like I really missed kind of being around cats, but I wasn't ready to
Mm.
adopt another one. And that's kind of when I stumbled upon this sanctuary where they offered this kind of volunteering, that you go in and spend time with the cats. So I did that for a few months, and there was one cat, Lola, who had been there for 7 months, and she kept getting passed over. People would come and look at her, but didn't want her because she was, well, she is a bit feisty. Not gonna lie. Um, but and a lot of the cats there, they're very thin and beautiful, and and really like cuddly, and she's not like that. um so yeah, we ended up adopting her. So
Oh,
yeah,
is she
yeah,
about or is she out having the
but
time of her
she's
life in the
currently
sunshine?
asleep.
Oh,
She's asleep on the bed. Yeah, she yeah.
is she
But
settling well?
yeah, she has actually. She's very she really likes my partner. Like, she loves him. But she's getting better with me. But she's settling in well, I think. So yeah, yeah.
Amazing. So, was it when you lost Charlie that you first became involved in pet loss, or was it prior to that?
Uh, so yeah, it was prior to that because I've always had pets growing up. So it's not the first time that I've been through the loss of a pet.
Mm.
So back in 2018, we lost our family dog Sheba. She was a German Shepherd, and I remember really struggling with that as well. And I just noticed that there was no support, and there was
Yeah.
just nothing. And that's when it sort of was first on my radar, and I kind of thought, maybe there's something here, like there's a gap. Um, because nobody was talking about it. Like, I didn't know who to go to kind of get some help. Um, and then in 2023, when I decided to go into private practice, I did a course on pet bereavement and loss, because I knew I wanted that to be part of my private practice. But I think when Charlie died, um, because that was the first time, she was my cat. I had to make all the decisions. Um, I stayed with her until the very end, which was the hardest thing I've ever done. And then the aftermath of that, I think that's when it really, I don't know, it just was like such a difficult experience that I thought, no, this really does need to be a focus of my private practice because people do need help and support. Um, so that's kind of how that came about.
Amazing. I imagine the multifaceted approach does really, really benefits your clients and your understanding as well of how these clients are going through the grieving process in different ways.
Yeah, because one of the things because I tend to support people after the pet has died. Sometimes I get clients who are in anticipatory grief, so I work with that as well. But it's just that disenfranchised grief that really comes up a lot with pet bereavement.
Mm.
And a lot of my work is like around kind of just validating what people are feeling, acknowledging that they're grieving, normalizing the grieving process, what does it look like, the physicality of it. And just the aftermath of, what do you do with your pet's belongings? What do you do with the clothes that you wore? You know, I remember when Charlie passed, she used to fall asleep on this reading chair that I have and there was a paw print on the reading chair, just the impression of a paw print, and obviously her fur everywhere. And I couldn't bring myself to hoover that chair for, I think it must have been at least 3, 4 months. I just kept looking at it, and I couldn't do it. And it's stuff like that people don't really think about,
Mm.
that. And it's another loss, isn't it? Because, you get, you look at the belongings and you think, well, what do I keep? What do I get rid of? Do I get rid of anything? But each thing is like another loss.
Yeah. Is disenfranchised grief a particular interest of yours?
Yeah, I think for pet bereavement it is, yeah, because I experienced it when Charlie died, and it was just horrible. People make these comments, and you just kind of think, why would you say that to somebody? And I do feel like they wouldn't say that if it was a person.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Um, and that's the thing that upset me a lot. That one question that I kept getting all the time was, "Will you get another one?" And it wasn't sort of, it was like I'd be like, oh yeah, Charlie died, and they'd be like, "Oh, yeah, will you get another one?" That was the kind of conversation. Really angry because I was like, I'm not replacing a fridge. This is my cat's died.
Mm.
This is a member of my family. She meant the world to me. We had a really strong bond. And you wouldn't say that to somebody whose dad had died, or and I think that's the bit that I think is really important, that people don't mean to be insensitive, I don't think, but I think that often they don't realize if they haven't had pets themselves, even if they did have pets, but maybe they didn't have that close relationship. Everybody's different, but I think that's the bit that's really hard to deal with when you're going through the grieving process, because you already feel like it's not talked about, so you already feel like, maybe should I be feeling like this? Is there something wrong with me? People expect me to be over it by now.
Hmm.
That comes up a lot, actually.
Okay. Yeah, I think it does. It tends to linger, that one, doesn't it? And I think because
Mm.
your friends and family are supporting you, and then this sort of information and this sort of statements are coming from them, you do, that disenfranchised grief comes in really, it comes in really strong. So it's nice that you're able to provide that for, clients both in both aspects, which is fantastic. So other than writing, what is it that you do to relax? How do you cope around all the work that you do to avoid sort of burnout and cancer fatigue?
Good question. So that took me quite a while to figure that out because I have had a burnout before,
Right.
which is one of the reasons why I went into private practice, so that I can kind of be a bit more flexible in my work schedule.
Hmm.
Um, but one of the things that I really like doing is just spending time in nature, going for walks, just switching off,
Hmm.
you know, um, sometimes I take it maybe a bit far and do almost like a digital detox where I just switch off my phone and I just think, do you know what, I'm taking a day, I'm not available to
Mhm,
anybody because I
mhm.
just need some space. Um, because obviously the work that we do, we give a lot of ourselves. You're there for people when they're going through really distressing things. And sometimes you do feel like you've got nothing else to give to anybody else. And I think when I feel like that, that's when I know I have to kind of take a bit of time out, turn my phone off, maybe just go for a long walk. Writing obviously is one of my outlets. I really enjoy doing that. And I write a lot of poetry and just whatever, journaling. So I find that helpful. And spending time with animals as well. Because they just force you sort of to be in the moment, don't they?
Yeah.
And they're sort of a good distraction. So the volunteering, I really enjoy that because I can just go there for an afternoon and be with the cats, and that's where the focus is, and they don't, they just accept you for who you are, don't they? They don't want anything from you.
Absolutely. Do you find a lot of your inspiration comes from like digital detoxing and being in nature and just switching off from the outside world? Do you find it inspires you quite a bit?
I think so, because I think what happens is, and I don't know if you feel similar, but sometimes in modern life, there's so much information
Yeah.
always coming at you, isn't there?
Yeah.
So much stuff, the news and adverts and notifications on your phone and social media and this and that. And it's just constant input.
Yeah.
So I do find when I kind of go for walks in nature, that my mind just suddenly quiets down. And then I can, things pop up. Um, thoughts, whatever ideas.
Mhm.
And it does make a difference. Because I think the other thing is, when you're sort of in the thick of it all the time, you kind of think, oh, such a body is doing this, should I be doing that? And,
Yeah.
it's that, yeah. So,
I think we fall into the trap of comparing ourselves to others,
yeah,
and that other person might be on a different stage of their journey, and they may have already detoxed, and they might have already had their downtime, and then we're sort of mapping ourselves to that, and I think it can get a little bit of an overload. It's really nice to
yeah,
know that you can get that space and that peace, and you've got the safety in the area to do it in, which is really lovely. um
yeah.
I think that kind of wraps up all the questions we have. Thank you so much. It's been really lovely to chat to you, and get
You
to know
too,
you a bit
Kirsty.
better. Um,
Yeah,
just as a point, Kat's details can be found on the association page. If you do want to get in contact with her, I'm sure she'd welcome it. Have a look around,
absolutely.
and yeah, you'll be able to find her details. Thank you so much, Kat. Have a lovely afternoon,
You.
and I'll see you next time.
See you soon, Kirsty. Take care.
Bye.
Bye, bye.